Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I'm a little bit late. I'm a little off my 7 p.m. Easter time here. I've been going all day. Combination of work and prepping. I hope everybody is doing well out there. Hey there, Tyler. Hey, Library Lizard. Hey, Live in the Call in Minnesota. Sunset. Gallo, 1776. Hey there, Minnie. Yeah, we had a heck of a about 4 hours this morning, boys. She snowed like crazy. We probably got good 6 inches of snow in that 4 hours, and then it warmed up and it melted off. But I had a heck of a time. I was covered with snow trying to keep the parking lot and stuff cleaned up. Me and the other guy that I work with there, boy, we were just covered with snow. That's why you never put away your snow shovel until about middle of April if you live in Michigan. Hey there, Churn Dash, following the light. Lake Lizard, Scout, Backdoor. Hope everybody's doing all right. Hey there, boss. Hey, MR. I've been waiting on your next one. Yeah, I'm going to do another one tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be my kind of weekly one. It'll be on us. It's on Saturday night this week. Yeah, our wind outside right now is absolutely insane. It wouldn't surprise me any. If this goes dark all of a sudden, it's because the power went out. Our internet's a little wonky when we don't have power. We don't get our direct internet in when the power goes out. Hey there, Dirt Farmer. Hey there, CV Farmer. How's West Michigan? How's a storm in West Michigan? How you guys doing over there? Yeah, I wanted to just have a little discussion here on this week's events. Nothing looks like it's getting any better. Gas kind of came down a little bit. It's still right around 350 though. Most places where we're at here, the wind. We're expecting pretty much bad wind all night, so that always leaves the opportunity for power outages to come through. And I don't see. Hey, Karen, how are things down there in Tennessee? Um, we actually have some power outages here in our general area, not here in my town, but close. We have some power out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Also, a tornado came through. Boy, that's terrible. Yeah, we had very bad tornadoes down in southern Michigan, around Coldwater. That's where those towns are. Coldwater's a pretty good sized town. And those tornadoes that hit Michigan there was a 12-year-old boy that was killed. It's terrible. Diesel fuel was 4.99. That's about, I think, what diesel is running around here. Power's out in Detroit there. Tammy says power's out in Detroit. Oh, you got a Jackery? Well, that's kind of cool. I was thinking about getting a Jackery, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence for it, I guess. Tyler, if you recall, I had asked about an AR, found a Ruger for 588, 580 cash. Got a Vortec optic on top. Sounds good. Sounds like you got a terrible or you got a good deal there on that. The big boss is terrible. Karen Reagan, good warm prayers to all. Yeah, same to you. You guys had your share of stuff down there too, Karen. It just goes to show you, Mother Nature doesn't care where you live; she can get you wherever you're at. But yeah, Tyler, sounds like you got a pretty good, pretty good setup there. Now just practice, practice, set it up, and just work through some basic drills, and you'll, I got a couple drills that I do. The one we like doing, it's like a 25-yard drill. What we do is because it gets your heart rate up and it gets you to try to do some fine motor skills. What you're doing is we'll take a magazine and we'll put it at the target, and we'll start 25 yards back. We'll run to the target, pick up the magazine, and then when we're running back to the 25-yard line, we will put the magazine in and we'll load it, get it around. And when we get to the 25-yard line, we'll turn around and engage the target. And that's one of our drills. I don't really have a name for it, but that's one of the drills that we do. And then another thing that we do is we'll do drills with actually a practice tourniquet. So like if you would get injured, we stage our tourniquets on our gear, and then somebody standing behind us will holler out like left arm or right leg or whatever, and then you have to react like you have to put a tourniquet on that while you're engaging targets. So that gives a little real world. Like I said, I don't know anything about stuff. These are just things that we came up with on our own. Regular gas in Oklahoma is going to hit $4 very soon. Got word that a worker at the gas station, that sounds about right. Woody Dudley, our diesel's at $5.50. Gas here in New Jersey, I'm thinking is New Jersey, is $3.42. Teresa Buchanan, hey, how are you? Scout, do I have any experience with mesh-tastic type equipment? I guess I don't know exactly what that is. I got 2 today to play around with. If you're speaking in code, I don't exactly understand what that one is. Whatever, prepper, that sounds like a great drill. That 25-yard drill where you have to load when you're coming back, I really like that. When it gets your heart pumping up, you have to, and then, that'll teach you whether, like, if your sling's bad or if your gear's catching on stuff, because, you're trying to make some distance while you're doing stuff. Yeah, I like that drill. That's kind of, like I said, one of our favorite ones. Hey there, prepper for the ages. It's been hard to find 5.56 near me. Lots of Czech. Czech I've never used. I'd have to say, Winchester White Box is supposed to be, top shelf target practice ammo. The newer Winchester White Box is kind of like, nah, it's pretty dirty. And I mean, I remember the old Winchester White Box. It was like great. Never had any issues with that. But the new stuff now in the last 10 years, Winchester White Box is basically filthy ammunition. As far as practice ammo goes, I actually like PMC. I've had pretty good luck with PMC ammunition. I think that's made in South Korea. And as a general rule, I think it's cleaner than the Winchester White Box stuff. But sometimes you got to take whatever it is that you can take. I've had pretty good luck with American Eagle, Federal, the old Remington UMC practice ammo. Back when it was the kind of the gold colored box with the UMC logo on it, that used to be pretty good too. But they changed that. Now it's kind of in the Remington green box, but it'll say UMC on it. But I haven't seen a lot of that around in a long time. And then anything that comes out of Lake City there, that stuff is pretty decent. I used to get that in with, see, I guess I don't have any right here, but anyway, they come in cardboard boxes loaded in stripper clips. Those are pretty decent. They used to come in like ammo cans, and those were pretty good for me. I enjoyed using that ammo. I never had any problems with that whatsoever. Gas went down, churn dash from 319 at the beginning of week through 8. That's good. It's good to hear. Tyler, 329 for gas and 429 for non-ethanol in Southern Tennessee. That's good to know. Hey there, Ambrose. Anton, I don't have extra cash at the moment, so I've been organizing. Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to organize your stuff too. IMI, I've never used, Tyler. I know some people have, but I have not used IMI. I did get some that was, I don't remember where it was made. Was it PPU? I tried some of that. That seemed to be okay. I had some I guess locally reloaded stuff here with Sierra Bowtail bullets. Those were actually pretty good. I actually put those in some 20 round mags. I got kind of keep them off to the side, save them. All Lake City is Winchester now. Yeah, they got some kind of contract that they run commercial after the government contracts are full. Also, a Maglua makes it easier to load. Never heard of such a thing. Tyler, I use a Potovac. They're made in, I actually have a video on that. Those Potovacs are made in Ukraine, and they're about $60, and they will load both AK and AR mags, and they are pretty slick. And that's what we use, like when we go out, or for an afternoon or an evening shoot, we'll take that along so we can jam stuff in there pretty quick. Hornady Frontier is good stuff, cheaper than White Box in North Dakota. I have seen a couple boxes of that, but I've never bought any of that, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. Jody from Michigan, good evening. Sun is in turning in Southern California. Gas jumped overnight to 469 to 510. Then 529. California's taxes are just crazy high. Oil is 97.20 a barrel in futures market. Yeah, I watched the stocks today. It opened up higher, and boy, it gave that all back there in the afternoon. MR, can you do a separate vid on shipping and the effects? I'll see what I can do about that, Sunset. I'll see what I can do for you. I mean, we can talk about it right now. The strait's still closed. How can I explain this? I kind of give it's a complicated topic, but the strait's still closed. There isn't enough. There was somebody that I knew that actually worked for Aramco back in the day, and he would fly over there. He'd work for a month or two, and then he'd come back for a month or two. Oh, thank you, Little Red Hen. I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much. Um, they only have so much holding capacity on shore, so a lot of the tankers that are out in the Gulf, they're the holding facilities. And there's a certain amount of tankers that are out there in the Gulf. And once all those tankers are full and the holding facilities are full on shore, they can't pump any more oil because there's no place to put it. Now, there are a couple of pipelines, I guess. I guess there's one pipeline that goes over to the Red Sea. And then I want to say there's another one that goes through Oman and comes down into the was it the Gulf of Aden, I think is what it's called. There's a couple little pipelines that can get some oil out of there, but once all the holding facilities are full, all the tankers are full, no new empty tankers can get into the Gulf. There's nowhere to put the oil, so they can't put it anywhere. They have to shut down operations because there's literally nowhere to put anything, and that is one of the issues. And the other thing, there's desalination plants, and I read of some reports today that people in Iran are starting to stockpile water. And I heard that a little bit of about that in Israel too, because they have desalination plants on the Med for their water that they use, because there ain't a lot of water over there. It's in the desert, and there's some issues with the energy for these desalination plants being affected by the conflict that's over there. So they have that kind of stuff going on. Dana Green, good to have you here. Like I said, I appreciate it, Little Red Hen. Thank you so much. Washburn Billy, good to see you. Does anyone know about black cumin as a medicinal plant? I do not know about cumin as a medicinal plant, but cumin seeds I use a lot of cumin in my cooking, and the whole seeds keep a really long time, and then you can grind them up and you can use them. It's sort of like wheat. Uncle Bumble is here. I appreciate you coming there, Uncle Bumble, my good friend. If you got any bushcraft questions, he is the man to talk to. Oh, you like my cap there? That is red, white, and blue apparel. They're made in the USA. I don't know if you guys can see the little logo there. Made in America. Yeah, that's why I like these. And then they don't have the little button on the top. So where I'm wearing hearing protection, that little button doesn't push down in my head. And these guys have been great. I got this guy here, and then I got this one. This one was soaking wet because I was using it today, but I'm letting that guy dry off. But I love these. These are my favorite baseball cap. No, I should probably order me a couple of more before something happens and you can't get them anymore. But wind up here is terrible right now, farmer. Scout Farm report is sounding the alarm on fertilizer. And that's the other thing. Ukraine, Russia, the Middle East, a lot of fertilizer comes out of those parts of the world. And that is pretty essential for our, modern agriculture. And then, two, I've heard that there's several container ships, and a container ship fully loaded is literally hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stuff transport. And, those ships are sitting in there and, nothing is kind of moving. And there is, it's energy. You look at countries like, Japan, South Korea, they get massive amounts of oil from that part of the world, and they don't have any oil production of their own. At least here in North America, we have a certain amount of oil production. So I don't think it's ever going to get to the point where we have no fuel and no oil here in the United States. But, the price is going to skyrocket. And that's the thing with this whole thing. This is a worldwide thing that's going on right here. This is sort of a world war type scenario, what's happening, because this stuff is going to affect pretty much every corner of the planet. If it's not availability, it's going to be price. It's going to be one or the other or a combination of the two. And, I hope you kind of understand how I'm putting it there, Sunset. But until stuff starts moving, until that gets kind of back online, which who knows what's going to take place with that, that's a very small corridor where they ship stuff through there. And I don't know, it's something like 20 miles across in the actual strait, but they don't use the whole strait. There's shipping lanes. And I know this from living on the Great Lakes, Saginaw Bay, whatever. There's shipping lanes. There's uh, outbound and inbound shipping lanes, just like it is over there in the Strait of Hormuz. There's lanes where ships go out and there's lanes where ships go in. Those are only a couple of miles across, and those are the lanes, the shipping lanes that they use. If those get mined, or if they happen to sink or set ablaze a fully loaded oil tanker in there where nothing can move through there in either direction, we're going to be even worse shape than what we are now. And there's no end in sight for this, and that's sort of what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for no end in sight. And what's basically going to happen with this is, and then there's natural gas that's produced over there. There's a lot of electrical plants that use natural gas, and there's a lot of manufacturing facilities. I'm talking massive manufacturing facilities. That one over there in Germany, that when the Ukraine war started, that BASF or whatever the parent company of that is, that shut down. That's a massive facility that does chemicals and does that kind of stuff in there, and that run on Russian natural gas. And when that natural gas dried up, that whole facility shut down. So then everybody that needs stuff or needs components from those manufacturing facilities can't get their components. You don't have to shut down, massive things to mess up manufacturing. One or two components, if you remove one or two components from those manufacturing schedules, you're done. You're dead in the water. You're not going to be able to manufacture that stuff. And then, you have the whole. I had a video that I put out a while back that it was, money versus availability. And I had somebody actually comment on that video today. And that's kind of why I'm thinking about that right now. But at first, availability starts to dry up. That drives up the price. So then it costs more. But there comes a point when the stuff just isn't available anymore at any cost. You can take a $10 item and jack the price up to $100, but if there's none there to be had, you're not gonna find those products. They're just done. So, these are the kind of situations that we're facing. And then the only thing that you could really do for stuff like that is you either have to improvise your way out of it, or you have to have a certain amount of stuff stockpiled that is essential, for your way of life and your standard of living, basically. So I hope that kind of explains it from a layman's standpoint here. Hey, Deb Smith, how are things in Australia? Yes, and JD Prepping, if you don't have fertilizer, you're going to need it. You better get it now. Yeah, fertilizer is something I've always, there's different organic fertilizers and stuff. Whenever small bags of fertilizer, organic or whatever, goes on sale in the fall, when they stop carrying that stuff, especially stuff that's geared toward vegetables, because a lot of vegetables, there's certain micronutrients that vegetables need. I buy that stuff, and I've got a box full of different fertilizers and stuff. And then, of course, when I do use fertilizer on my vegetables and stuff, I really kind of I laser focus on those specific areas where I'm planting. So, I don't just broadcast the fertilizer everywhere. If I'm putting a plant in, I'll put a little fertilizer right underneath that plant, work it up, and put it right there. I'm not broadcasting like, people broadcast fertilizers on a lawn or something. I don't waste it. It goes right where I need it to be, and then that's it. And then I watch my plants. If there's anything, like here's a good example, blossom end rot on tomatoes. That's typically caused by calcium deficiencies. So then I will, boost a little bit of calcium into those tomato plants to fix that malady. And usually the two micronutrients in your garden that causes the most problems are deficiencies in magnesium and deficiencies in calcium. And calcium, you could break up a little bit of a Tums and sprinkle that into the ground where you're planting your tomato plant or whatever. That helps with that. And another thing is a couple of flakes of Epsom salt, because Epsom salt is a type of magnesium, and that'll break down into the soil. And when I say a very small amount, like Epsom salts are like flakes, like 2 or 3 flakes underneath a plant is all you need. You don't need very much of it. And that will actually put a little bit of magnesium back into the soil. So those are some, improvised techniques that you can use for, fixing some of those maladies there in your vegetable plants. Yeah, almost like it's a plan. Yeah, like every other Middle Eastern war that's been going on since I've been in high school, it's just, yeah, the 2030. Oh, yeah, yeah, I don't have much use for the elites. Let's just put it that way. This decade will be written in the history books 30 years from now. Yeah, Tyler. And remember, history is always written by the winner. So keep that in mind too. And then also the quote that was attributed to Napoleon: history is a set of lies agreed upon. So keep that in mind too. Hey there, Tober from Cadillac. How you doing? Candace, I try to get whatever I need on clearance at the end of the gardening season. Yeah, so do I. In fact, the end of winter, when they're selling stuff like heaters, that kind of stuff, and winter socks, heavy socks, that kind of stuff, and then in fall when they're trying to get rid of the gardening stuff, is typically the 2 times where I'll purchase clearance stuff to put that stuff up for the next year. Little hen will be planting in the solar greenhouse this weekend. That's awesome. I had a greenhouse for a couple of years, but the outside portion of it kind of fell apart on me. I would like to actually build a actual regular greenhouse, like an 8x10 greenhouse worth a little bit of a heater in that, so I could start my seeds out there, and then too I could do some bucket planting, keep a few heads of cabbage in there, keep some potatoes in there later into the fall, almost into the winter. If I could kick a heater on in there a little bit for a couple hours, raise the temperature up, those kind of cold hardy plants like cabbage, like potatoes, like onions, where I could keep some of that stuff going later into the fall and into the early winter, that would be great. And one day if I ever retire, I think that's going to be on the to-do list to do for that and for my kids. Oh yeah, eggshells. You can dry eggshells. You can powder them. Those are a very good source of calcium. I typically throw some dried eggshells into my compost. I beat them down so they're crushed up pretty good, and then I throw them in there, let them break down, because then my compost has a little bit of calcium in it as well. Escape velocity. Hey everyone, Vermont here. Half sunken greenhouse. That sounds like a good idea. I've seen pictures of them, but I've never tried to build one of those. Stephen Ross, check out liquid fertilizer made from weeds and water and fermented over the weeks. Works wonders. It actually works good too for fertilizer. A couple of fish. Like, see here where we're at, we have a lot of carp, and we have carp's probably the one that's the most common that people will use for fertilizer. They're basically considered a junk fish, and you can spear them or shoot them with a bow and arrow in the spring. And they actually have tournaments around here where they'll try to shoot as many of them as they can to get them out of the ecosystem here in the Great Lakes. And the farmers will literally wait there with with dump trucks to pick up these fish from these tournaments, and they spread them in the fields and they'll plow them under. And for my apple tree that I got in the backyard, um, every year or two, I try to get a couple of carp, dig a hole about 3 feet around, out from the trunk a little bit. I'll try to dig a hole down, just a small little hole, dig that down, and I'll put a couple of fish down in there and I will cover that up good. And then I'll water that. So when those fish decompose, those nutrients go into the soil around my apple tree. That's actually done wonders for that apple tree. And then two, actual fruit tree fertilizer, when you want to use them, you want to put the fertilizer, like if you use the spikes and that kind of stuff, you put that on the drip line. And what the drip line is when the tree's all leafed out, that edge where, when it rains, that rain kind of, because a tree's sort of like an umbrella, that rain will kind of shed off and that lands in a certain spot around the outside edge of the tree. That's called a drip line. And then that's where you put your fertilizer or fertilizer spikes, because then when it rains, that fertilizer, those nutrients will wash in naturally into that fruit tree. Let's see. Lake Lizard, just a heads up, major auto parts companies shut down in our area, and air filter manufacturers, Champion, got Graham, but it's probably Fram, which you meant there, may stock up in case of storage. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. One of the things that I was going to do when I'm out and about here in the next couple of days is I was going to get new air filters for our vehicles. And the reason I want to do that is two, air filters. If you have a dirty air filter, that negatively affects your fuel economy in your vehicles. So you want to have a good, clean air filter in there. So I'm going to check all our vehicles here in the next day or two, and I'm going to grab a new air filter for all of our vehicles. Then we'll be good for a while again. And yeah, like Lake Lizard said there, if there's something that's shut down, that might affect the availability of that. So that might be something that y'all want to look into. Like I said, a lot of times air filters in vehicles is something that people really don't pay attention to. And, next thing you know, you got 100,000 miles on a vehicle and you never change the air filter. And the thing is, black and caked full of stuff. So it's something good to check. But if you get a good clean air filter in there, you do get better gas mileage. Got 10 bags of 13, 13, 13 last week. That's good to go. Falling skies. Well, I remember Mom, she would get actual straight nitrogen, 4600, but heck, they don't even sell that anymore. I think you got to have license and everything like to get that anymore, because you can't get that because of that Oklahoma City bombing. That took care of that, nipped that right in the bud, because that's what, that guy used for that. But, that was stuff that used to be available. There used to be all kinds of stuff like that available to just average people that were growing their own gardens and stuff, and a lot of that stuff they've pulled from the market. Little Red Hen, I saw a short on YouTube earlier that Del Monte has filed for bankruptcy. That I do not know, Little Red Hen. I'll have to check that out when I get off here. Monkey Food Guard, good to see you, my friend. I hope everybody is doing well down there in Louisiana. Patrice, I do grow comfrey. Comfrey is an ingredient. A lot of healing salves for skin and stuff have comfrey, and that's a good plant to have. Monkey Food Garden for the fertilizer made from weeds grass. Check out David the Good on YouTube. He calls it swamp water. Works great. Made in a 55-gallon drum. Dreadlock Warrior, if you have chickens, collect droppings, put the food in a safe container, add spring water, let it set for 2 weeks to ferment it, break it down a little bit. Mom would always use chicken manure straight up. The only manure that Mom said that was too harsh, that you couldn't use it, you had to let that set and ferment for compost for a while, was horse manure. Horse manure was really, really strong. It was great stuff. She loved it. She never turned down some horse manure if she could get it, but she would literally let that set for 2 years before she would use it, because it would have to break down a little bit. But chicken manure, Mom always used straight, and like cow manure and stuff, we really didn't use much of that. There was a lot of dairy farms and stuff around, and there were people that Mom knew, but Mom just preferred chicken manure and, like I said, horse manure if she could get it. But then she would let that break down. Del Monte is closing down. Granny Fisher. Good to, like I said, good to know that. I didn't know that, but that's why we do these live streams so we can, share information. And boy, if you guys got any money saving, tips and techniques or anything, if something pops into your head when you're watching one of my videos or whatever, please put that down in the comments so we can all share that. Like I try to share everything I possibly can think of, but I'm only one person. The more minds are on this, and boy, I got nothing but respect for the people that comment and watch my videos and stuff, because I have learned so much from you guys, just as much as I've put out. I've learned, I've gotten back from you guys as well. Joe, just another hit on the food chain. That's yeah, and that's sort of by design too, but that's a whole nother. Don't dare talk about that too much, or they'll shut me down. Comfrey is great green manure. That's good to know. If Del Monte closes down, I bet they will kill all the peach trees in Yuma Valley. Boy, I hope not. I hope they sell that or pass that off to somebody else. I just makes me sick when people cut down fruit trees. Just makes me sick, because there's, and then too, you got people that they have a fruit tree in their backyard or something. They look at it like a nuisance. They rake up all that produce and they just, they just throw it out. And it doesn't make a difference whether it's black walnuts or it's apples or it's pears or apricots or whatever. I know places where there's trees just growing in the ditch on a back road, and boy, I go there all the time and just pick pears or apricots, whatever that it is, because, and then walnuts are another one. Black walnuts around here, people just rake them up, and black walnuts are actually really, really good. And even the black walnut shells, heck, you can burn them in your wood stove. So there's there's nothing that, if you put your mind to it, nothing really is waste. Uh, Lake Lizard, Monkey Food Garden, First Brand Groups, Ribestus, Shop Tech, Fram, Trico, Auto Chain, like others. Yeah, I'll put a fire underneath that, and I'll get some air filters here in the next couple of days. I'll get that wrapped up. I appreciate that information very much. So, Lake Lizard, if you want a good Sea Farmer, if you want a good source of nitrogen, talk to farmers and see if you can buy liquid nitrogen. Yeah, that's what those if you ever see those big, I don't know, they're like a three-wheeled vehicle, and they got these big, I don't know, they're like sprayers that they like fold them out and they drive across the fields and they spray all that stuff. A lot of times there's nitrogen fertilizer that are in that. Yeah, fruit trees. I'll tell you what, an apple tree, a pear tree, that stuff is awesome to have. And I always looked at apples, especially. They talk about the three sisters, the beans, the squash, and the corn. But apples are one of those things. And you take those, you take your beans, you take your squash, and you take your corn, and you mix apples in with that, and you mix potatoes in with that. Boy, you got a solid base to feed yourself right there. Those, I think, are some of the most important crops that somebody can plant for their garden. Monkey Food Garden. Our neighbor has a huge Sasma tree that's loaded every year, and they cut it down because it was too messy. Oh yeah, I'm the exact same way. That would, like, there's a house by us here that just changed hands, and there's an old pear tree in that yard, and I just pray every time I drive past that they don't destroy that tree. Ambrose, cut nettle ground level, fill a 5-gallon bucket with nettle, fill it with water, and let it set for 6 weeks. Great fertilizer, must dilute. That's good to know. Jeannie, one of my plum trees fell over. The only replacement I could find was 6 to 12 inches. Yeah, a good fruit tree takes 30 years to get it to the point where you can use stuff off it year in and year out. Dirt Farmer, we got apple trees out of the fence row for applesauce many times. Yeah, there's apple trees all around here growing in ditches and, little back out of the way places that nobody really goes to. And I get buckets of apples off of some of that stuff. Tyler, attempting to grow my own flowers this year, such as zinnias, asters, good for attracting bees. Well, one of the things that I have here, and that lets me know that spring's coming, is daffodils. I got some daffodils from mom and dad's place, plus there were some here when I moved in here, and they uh, they are the first plant that will usually pop up when the ground gets warm enough, and daffodils are kind of a good indicator on your seasons. Hey Minnie, how you doing? Little Red Hen, the black walnut shells make good dark black dye for textiles. Yeah, I actually did a video on that. I dyed some knife scales and I dyed a couple of t-shirts a dark brown, and I love dark brown. It's kind of one of my favorite, just natural colors. But yeah, that's a makes and another thing that you can do with black walnut shells. It's a source of homemade iodine. You can make if you draw that, you take those black walnut husks and you put those into a tincture into some vodka and you let that steep. You're basically steeping out a natural source of iodine. And I'll let you guys look up, what iodine can all be used for, because it's a lot of different things. Hawkmeyer, how you doing? uh, Patriot Preacher, good to see you, my friend. Prepping is paying off right now. LED plugged into the power brick for light right now. Glad to have the heat for later in the stove for fuel and gas if it goes into tomorrow. Yeah, I actually got I got a deal on a new jump starter pack because the one I got here, it's only a year old. It won't hold a charge no more. So I picked up one of those today. I got a pretty good deal and I was pretty happy about that. And that mother refugee is going to get that put up in her Jeep. So then she's got that. I always give her the best stuff. So it's easier for her to take care of stuff if I'm not around. But I'm a firm believer in having one of those jump start packs where you can put air in a tire, where you can jump start a vehicle. Some of them will have a plug on it where you can do a USB charge on a phone or something. Plus, some of them will have a small electrical outlet where you can run something electrical on it, like a laptop or something like that. Some of that stuff can come in darn handy depending on the situation. Coney, good to see you. Late because time to get her done, get it in. Just finished up with my half acre more garden. Well, today kind of put a kibosh on it, but I want to get Works rototiller, and I want to work up my because we rent stuff, and that's one of the benefits of working where I work is they let you use the rental stuff if nobody has it booked. And I thought on one of my days off, I'm going to grab. They have a really nice rototiller. I'm going to go grab that, bring that here, and I'm going to work up all my stuff. And then when the ground and the temperature gets warm enough, I can get potatoes in the ground, I'm going to be good to go. Washburn, if you see dead skunks on the road, it's steelhead season. Yeah, when Mr. Stinky comes out, it starts to get to be spring. Live in the Call, a local tree removal company, is hosting free beginner chainsaw classes. That's cool. That's good to know. I am excited to go. I have no experience with one. Any questions that I should ask to discuss with the class? Um, you want to get a chainsaw that you're comfortable using. Don't you want to start with something that is easy for you to use. If you don't have a lot of upper body strength, you don't want to start with a huge chainsaw, and that's kind of the first thing. And you want to watch the binding of the blade, because if you're cutting a tree that's hung up in something, that's going to pinch as you cut in there. That's going to want to bind your blade. So that's something you really have to watch. And then to kick back, chainsaws will kick back if you do something wrong. And then the other thing too is you want to have your right safety equipment. You want to have gloves. A lot of the chainsaw companies will recommend chaps. I don't personally wear chaps because I'm usually, when I'm out cutting wood, I have Carhartt. I have heavy Carhartt bibs and stuff on. But you want to wear safety glasses, safety sunglasses. You want a good heavy pair of gloves on to protect your hands. A lot of guys, if they're fallen trees, they're going to wear some type of hard hat with the ear protection on that. That's all. You want to have that safety equipment down, and you want to be comfortable using that stuff. And have fun, because I enjoy going out and doing wood cutting weekends and stuff. And if you're basically creating fuel. You're creating fuel for yourself, and it's great exercise. So, like I said, there's a lot of positives with cutting your own wood. But yeah, enjoy yourself there. But make sure you get your safety equipment, most definitely. Tyler, the deer took out so much of our tree canopy back in 2020 here in Iowa. Sad to say, take decades to fix. Well, we lost all our white ash trees here back in 2012, 2013, 2014, because the emerald ash borer, entire stands of trees are just gone now. And yeah, it makes me sick. The Jumpstart pack that I bought today was a Die Hard one, and I want to say it's like 950 is the size of the one that I got. I got a pretty decent deal on it. The one that I got that only lasted for a year is the ever popular Walmart Everstart brand, and yeah, that one is junk. And the best one that I had a Black and Decker one that last. It was orange, and it was sort of like it was a little bit longer. It had a handle on it, and it had two electrical outlets. It had the compressor to um, pump up a tire, and it was before USB ports were on there, and then it was a jump starting pack, and we used that for 12 or 13 years before finally the battery wouldn't take a charge anymore. And boy, I cried. We kept that in the vehicle. We had a minivan at the time because the kids were little. We used that thing everywhere. We took it camping with us. We took it up into the UP with us when we went hiking. We took it to the cabin. We just did everything with that thing. It was so universally helpful. And like I said, that was the best one I ever had. But yeah, Mr. Everstart Walmart one sucks. Oh yeah, I guess, like I said, power outages, Patriot Preacher, that could happen around here in a heartbeat with the winds of what we got right now. Just got a Dirt Farmer just got a NoCo brand jump box for my daughters that are going to college. Well, yeah, that's another thing too. My adult children, I have some type of jump starting box in all their vehicles too. I just have jumper cables in my vehicle because I gave mine out to the kids. I want them to be able to take care of themselves, have the right equipment, and if they can't afford it, old dad here tries to help them out with that. Karen Reagan, carbonated water is great for cleaning. That's good to know. Scott Easy. I'm a pesticide applicator. The high nitrogen fertilizer referred to as ammonium nitrate. In some states, the DP requires a license, and others don't. Yeah, yeah. The 4600 nitrogen. When I was a kid, mom would just go up and get a bag, 50-pound bag um, at the co-op, and the big thing that got used for was sweet corn. When mom would plant big patches of sweet corn, because sweet corn uses so much nitrogen, and about every other year mom would plant a big batch of sweet corn, and then we would can that, and then mom would trade for other things, because we had a pretty good patch of soil there, and we got a lot of really warm sun in that particular area. I still remember it like it was yesterday. And mom would plant the sweet corn in there, and then she would plant it, she would stagger plant it, so not all of it was ripe at the same time. They would ripen a couple weeks apart, and then that would give us enough time to can everything. Plus, then she would go trade that for other stuff. But yeah, she would, if it didn't look right to her, she'd be going with that 4600 fertilizer and putting that on there. Whatever prepper, modern, don't the deer eat your daffodils? Stand your peas in those 5-gallon buckets out in your yard. Ah, those 5-gallon buckets where I have my peas in are right close to my house. So the deer don't come up that close to my house. And our cat that goes outside keeps the rabbits at bay. So I've never had deer eat daffodils, and I've never had the deer eat my peas. And my back garden that's closer to where the deer, get into and stuff, that garden, I typically plant potatoes and onions in there, and the deer won't touch those. They won't eat them. And garlic is another thing that I plant back there. So, that stuff goes back there where the deer are, and that kind of naturally the deer don't want to eat that stuff. And the stuff that the deer want to eat, like my pole beans and like the peas and that kind of stuff, I plant that closer to the house. So then that gives us, a little bit of a break from the animals eating that stuff. And I don't have a problem with, a rabbit eating, a couple of leaves off the bean plant. But the problem is they'll eat the stuff when it first comes up, when it first sprouts, they'll eat it off, and then it kills it. You gotta go ahead and replant it. But if the plant's already growing and flourishing, and a rabbit comes through and wants to eat a couple of bean leaves, I don't have a problem with that. But when they, eat the sprouts when they first come up out of the ground, that kind of ruins the whole thing. So then that gets me going. Monkey Food Garden, Coney B. Agree. The time change is great to be able to work outside till 7. Congrats on expanding the garden and good luck. Tyler, highly recommend chaps. Had one time a saw come back, and yeah, chaps are kind of, if you're really going to do a lot of cutting with a chainsaw and stuff, or you got a job working as a tree trimmer or something, chaps are kind of essential at that point. Like I said, I never wore them because a lot of the times when I'm doing my wood cutting, I have heavy Carhartt bibs on. I'm sure they're not as good as what actual wood cutting chaps are, but for me, it works pretty good. Oh yeah, no problem for the chainsaw info. That's no problem at all. Live in the call. Like I said, I actually sell chainsaws now, so we do a lot of talk on chainsaws. Yeah, face shield for a big chainsaw too. I knew a guy that had one bounce back in the face, bad damage. Yeah, and a lot of times those hard hats that I was talking about, where the with the ear protection stuff, they'll have a face shield in front of it too. I usually wear because I wear safety glasses all the time. My sunglasses are safety glasses. I got clear safety glasses for other stuff, and my glasses that I wear, these are safety glasses. So I try to keep safety glasses on at all times. Uh, CV farmer, my dad and grandpa used to use ammonium nitrate to make bombs to blow stumps and clear ground. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but when my grandfather passed away and my grandmother sold the farm, when they were cleaning out the barn and stuff, they actually found a half a box of dynamite. And I remember my grandma and my mom, they were kind of trying to figure out what to do with it. And they ended up calling the sheriff department and told them, hey, we're selling the farm here and dad had some dynamite here. We don't know what to do with it. Will you come and pick it up? And they did. They came and they picked it up, but what they ever did with it, I don't know. But they did come and pick that up. Uh, Yeah, Candace, I've worked in a factory my entire adult life, and I can say safety glasses are super important. Yeah, it doesn't take much. It only takes one thing to go wrong, and you can get hurt pretty bad. Yeah, ammonium nitrate. You need to be careful where you store it. Well, they said that big blast that happened in Beirut. I don't know how. What, I don't know, 4 years ago. It like leveled the whole like harbor. They said that was improperly stored fertilizer. Well, then again, that gets back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this. There's a lot of fertilizer that comes out of the Middle East, out of that part of the world, and fertilizer is pretty important for our modern world. It's one of those things that you just don't hear a lot of people talk about. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that are going on, and pretty much they're all bad. I had somebody tell me in one of my in my video that I did here just the other day, that it was kind of bad things are happening and the window of abundance is closing. In my opinion, it is. We we walk, and unless people actually work in different industries or they work in the supply chain and stuff and see it on a day-to-day basis, our modern world just walks on the edge of a knife blade, a little bit one way or another, whether it's, now it's the curtailment of energy basically with, oil and liquid natural gas and stuff coming out of the Middle East. But back in 2020, it was manpower. What if people just don't show up for work? How does that affect? There's just so many things that we have taken for granted over the last 50 years, that's going to be there. Medical care is going to be there, energy is going to be there, water is going to be there. The grocery stores are going to be filled with food when we go up there. It's a different world than what it was 100 years ago. 100 years ago, your grocery store was your garden, or it was your farm, or it was out in your milk house or your barn. And it's just, there was so many more rural farms and homesteads and stuff 100 years ago compared to what it is now. Now everybody supply, even people in rural areas depend on the supply chain. And if that supply chain is fragile, it is not a given that that stuff is going to work. Yeah, big companies will say, oh, we've got multiple sources where we can get this, but a lot of that is BS. The Just like when you hear officials talk about this or that, oh, we've got it under control, or we got a plan, yada yada yada. That's all BS. They don't want to cause panic. It's always, they don't want to cause panic unless they want to cause panic and they want you to do something. Then they're going to scare you to go do this or that or whatever. But the rest of the time, they want to protect their phony baloney jobs, their phony baloney pensions and stuff that our tax dollars pay for. And they lie a lot. So I don't take a lot of stuff. Then when they give an official report on stuff, I take that all with a grain of salt, and sometimes a really large grain of salt. And unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. And with the internet and with the way things are now, people can be manipulated fairly easily. And I think pretty much all the people that watch my channel are strong-willed enough that that kind of stuff isn't going to work on them. Of course, that's why we're all preppers, right? Everybody that's watching this right now, and everybody that's participating in the chat and stuff here, we are all at some level of preparedness. I'll guarantee you, everybody. It says there's 110 people watching this right now. The 110 people that are watching this, plus one, plus me, I'll guarantee you, we are better than probably 90% of the population. We're better off, and we could take care of ourselves no matter what happens. And even if something happens to our preps where we're separated from them or whatnot, we have enough knowledge up here that we can make things happen. And I have nothing but respect for everybody that watches my channel and that interacts with me. I appreciate you guys all very much, because you know what, we're all in this together. And we're kind of like Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table here. The table's round. There's nobody, one person that's in charge of everybody else, and we all sit together. We put our minds together to solve different problems, and that's what separates, I think, prepping channels on YouTube from some of the other kind of stuff that's out there. Sorry, I got off on a philosophical tangent there. Yeah, Scott Easy. There was a big ammonium nitrate accident in Texas in the late 40s. That I didn't know. Fuel up $1 a gallon now. My wife and I took the day off and went out and filled gaps before the bottom drop. So it was a good idea. Monkey Food Garden. We are probably going to do the same here in the next couple of days. Candace, I struggle growing good carrots. Any secrets to it? Carrots have to have a certain amount of moisture in the ground for them to sprout. And little baby carrots, when they first come up, animals love them. So there's been times I've had a beautiful row of carrots started, and I had something come through at night and munch them all down. So carrots are another thing. You really want to have some kind of pest control around them, or maybe even cover them up a little bit until they get a little bit bigger. And carrots are a root vegetable, so you want to concentrate on the last number in fertilizer, the potash. That's what root vegetables need a lot of times. So you want to make sure that you have. For me, it's not that hard. I just use the wood ashes out of my wood stove. I sprinkle a little bit of that on my garden to boost that number. But the potash helps the roots, and any root vegetable, potatoes, parsnips, carrots, turnips, that kind of stuff. That stuff needs that potash. So to keep that in mind. Uh, Hey, Frontline Warrior, good to see you here. Fluffy, how you doing? Washburn, modern refugee, can you speak of the trickiness from eating rabbits out of season? Rabbits have like a parasite or a disease, and the old timers would never eat wild rabbit until after the first hard freeze. So nobody would hunt rabbit in like September. Even though the hunting season for rabbit for cottontail does open in the 15th of September here in Michigan, the old timers would never hunt rabbit until there was a good hard freeze, till they had at least a couple of nights that were down below 20 degrees. And they did that because they said if any of those rabbits were sick with those parasites or those diseases, on a night when there was a good hard freeze, like 20 degrees or lower, those rabbits would die. So then, when you were out after a good hard freeze, the rabbits that were running around, they were healthy and they were good to eat, and they wouldn't make you sick. And that was something that was taught to me very young when we started. When I was like 10, 11 years old, I started rabbit hunting. That was one of the first things the old guys told me. They said, you never go out rabbit hunting. And that's why most guys won't hunt rabbits unless there's snow on the ground. And because then you had that good hard freeze. And like I said, I don't know any of the science or anything of that behind it. I just know what I was taught. And for me, when I would hunt rabbits, it would be typically in end of December through about the middle of March. Like right about now, we're in the middle of March. After this, I wouldn't hunt rabbits anymore. So it was kind of a late December, January, and February thing for us. So that's kind of what I was taught there, Washbourne. Uh, I vote we break out the strawberry sauce. I hope you had a good day. Yeah, there's actually another video coming on the strawberry sauce. I got another video on how to use that coming out here in the next day or two. And I also got kind of a hack video for some AK upgrades and or some AK improvised things that I've come up with here. And I did that video once, and of course it got beaten down. So then I redid it again. But the second time when I redid it, it turned out pretty decent. So I'm hoping that the platform will let me put that one out. So those will be coming out too, as well as my live stream tomorrow night. Gallo, you have a good night. You take care of yourself. Yeah, bone meal is good too. And then too, there are certain fertilizers for bulbs. They're called bulb food or whatever. That kind of stuff is good for like onions. And I know onions and garlic. Some people have problems. I get a lot of people that say that they have problems growing onions. I have always been pretty lucky growing onions, but sometimes the soil needs a little augmentation. And then, but bulb food is usually marketed for growing flowers, but it works wonders on garlic and onions as well. Oh yeah, please hit the thumbs up. Yeah, I appreciate that, Coney. I hope everybody gets some value out of my videos here. I believe it's called Tula tularemia, also known as rabbit fever. Yeah, that could be. That could very well be. But like I said, they always told me you never ate a wild rabbit until after there was a hard freeze. Oh, Washburn, I appreciate it. And I appreciate talking to all you guys out there. But been on here about an hour. I am going to kind of shut her down now. I wanted to have a little chat with you guys. I probably had 3 or 4 people ask me specifically last night, even to do a chat. I just couldn't do it last night. I was away from my computer. I couldn't get it done. But tonight I said, you know what? I got a little time. I'm going to get this done for you guys, even though I got another live stream coming on tomorrow night. But we'll hopefully everything gets a little better tomorrow. I doubt it, but we'll discuss everything, and we'll come together tomorrow night again, and we'll have a chat. Uncle Bumble, you have a good night as well, my friend. Monkey Food Garden, I appreciate you always modding for me. You are I'm blessed to have you here, and I appreciate you being here. But I hope everybody had another a good day here. I hope everybody gets a little bit of prepping in tomorrow, and keep an eye on everything around your surrounding area there, and always keep your situational awareness up. But anyway, this is Modern Refugee. Appreciate all you guys out there. Hope you guys have a safe night, and I will be back again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time to have a discussion with you guys. You guys have a good one.